Well, hey guys, happy Monday. This is Tony from Tony Talks Cards, and as we always do, we talk about cards, either cards in hand, something about the card industry, the hobby, buying and selling, and all the above. So, again, this is the week of January 13th. Thank you all for viewing and joining. The topic for this video really is I was trying to think about this a couple weeks ago and kind of in my head, how do I want to frame this up and talk about it? But I think it's something we all go through and all think about. And specifically, it's what you need versus what you want. Now, again, right, that can apply to the larger context of our financial situation, right? Needs being things like shelter, food, clothing, etc. Wants are the things we don't need. Maybe we do think we need some of our wants. And certainly, sports card collecting is a want and privilege to be able to do that and however you do it, whether modern, vintage, a few bucks or even more. So, thinking about wanting something versus needing something, and specifically having a want list of things I want versus just things I'm missing. And maybe that's the two better terms to use. Is there a difference between a want list and a missing list? And I think a lot of us would say maybe it sounds like the same thing briefly, but then for me, as I'm trying to narrow in on my collecting focus areas, buying and selling, mostly buying, uh, having a missing list is not going to help me. Having a wants list will help me. Because if you think about just the card industry, right, a lot of us are missing everything, right? I mean, there's too much out there. No one's ever going to collect all of it. So having a list of what you're missing, even if it's from a set you collect, like, I was collecting vintage football sets a long time ago and still like them, but sold a lot of them off for other reasons I may talk about in the future. Or even, graded cards or graded unopened packs of cards. Well, I'm missing a lot of all of those categories. I can't, if I go after everything I'm missing, I'm going to be out of budget real fast and probably look back and say I didn't really focus enough. So I'm thinking more about how do I put a want list together? And a couple of videos ago, I went through what my card collecting goals would be in terms of what I want to buy this year. I mean, I want to buy a lot of it, but in reality, with the budget and what I'm doing and the focus areas, what I'm really into right now versus what I was into a year or two ago, I want to do a want list. So I did come up with a want list. I'm not going to share it here, but maybe in a future video I will. But it's a narrowed down focus from what my hobby collecting goals were in a prior video I did. In that video I talked about certain, Cubs cards, other baseball cards, and open packs and graded or not, and talked about those things in general topics. But even then, those four or five things I mentioned, you could buy 1,000 things within all those categories. And I don't have the time or the funds to buy 1,000 things in each of five categories. So I thought about, well, if I set up what I really want, like let's spend some time thinking about, look at the cars, look at the prices, look at what's rare versus I can find maybe any old day on eBay. What do I really want? And so I just want to let you know I've gone through that process. I've got, well, it's challenging still, even today as I talk about it. I did come up with certain cards that I want. I'm missing them too, but I'm missing a lot. But of the ones I'm missing, here are some ranges of what they may cost, the card itself, right? What it may cost based on what I'm seeing on eBay, other sites I'm part of. And if I add all those things up, right, hopefully that kind of comes up with what I hope and guess my full year budget may be for this. And hopefully I don't spend all the budget and all the cards don't come up in January, because that's not the way finances work. Usually you've got to spread things out based on, paychecks, and you don't have all the funds available on January 1st to buy everything you need. But I'll tell you what, here we are, the third, I guess, second full week of January, not even the 15th yet. And I'm already seeing a bunch of cards come through on Facebook sites, on eBay, that I thought, oh, maybe I'll get to that. Or it's on a want list for sure, but thinking maybe later in the year it's going to come up. I've had a lot of stuff come up the first 2 weeks of the year that, oh shoot, man, these are all on my want list. I thought I did a good job of narrowing the missing list down to the want list. And here, three or four things are that are on the want list, but again, the money doesn't come in all at once in January. So the struggle is always happening, even here, the second full week of January of 2025. So anyway, I'm curious if you've thought about that, struggle with that. How do you refine your lists? Hard copy lists, are they electronically kept? How is your January going? I guess if your January's off to a banging start with buying a bunch of stuff you want, that's great. Or maybe you're not finding what you want. But right now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff I did have on my narrowed down want list, not the missing list, but the want list. So, it's first world problems. It's not something I'm going to lose sleep over, but it just makes me know and refocus on the fact that I've got to keep focused, keep vigilant on what is the list and even the price, right? You may see the card, it's, oh, I'm in want list, but it's too high of a grade, or I'm okay with a lower grade or not graded at all. I don't care about that. But when you see is graded or it's higher than you want and it costs more, so do you just, how do you think about that? Not get caught up in seeing it. There's a ticking time clock down on eBay or somewhere else, and you want to buy it. How do you deal with all that stuff? So anyway, that's my first 6 minutes and I guess 20 seconds of rambling about missing lists versus want lists. But I will end with one card I picked up, and honestly, this wasn't, looking back at my video I did, I guess it was, I did mention buying Cubs cards, I think, but probably just Ernie Banks. That was on my my goals video from a month or so ago, and here I am. I bought something more than that. But as I refine my want list, I guess, a week or so ago, this card manufacturing company and brand and year did come up. And I bought this one raw off of eBay. And it's the first time I've had a card from this year slash manufacturer. I guess the year and manufacturer combination, I should say. So the card itself, and I'm going to review some notes as I talk about the player I picked up just so I don't lose my train of thought or lose the facts I wanted to share. But this card is a 1933 Goudey Jackson Riggs Stevenson. Kind of a long name there to get on top of that card. No denotation about the team he's on. Kind of a bland, cap and uniform there. But Jackson Stevenson is part of the Cubs Hall of Fame. This is a 1933 Goudey card, raw, of course. Got a lot of, some dirtiness on the corners, right? They aren't perfectly white. Definitely some softness, up here and down here. Nothing's perfect, right? A little bit of kind of a, you probably can't see it. A little bit of like an indentation on the card, not a crease, just kind of a, something fell on it, was pushed on it, but it didn't go through the front of the card. So I think a crease was mentioned in the eBay ad, but maybe that's what they were referring to. But again, no big damage. Corners, centering look okay to me and dirty, but again, it's a solid, not poor card. So this guy I knew nothing about before about 2 weeks ago. Looking at the card on eBay and looked up some of his statistics. He's part of the Cubs Hall of Fame, like I said, not the Hall of Fame, MLB Hall of Fame, but the Cubs Hall of Fame. And he played from 1921 to 1934, part with, I believe it, another team, I can't think of it right now, first half of his career, the last 9 years of his career was with the Cubs. And so with the Cubs, he played and had one of his best years in 1929. He hit 362 in that year. And in that year, the Cubs had outfielders, including himself, Jackson Stevenson, Kai Kyler, and Hack Wilson. And if you believe Wikipedia, and I think the Major League Baseball statistics website, that was the first time ever, I think, that all three outfielders had on one team had over 100 RBI in one season. I don't think that's probably still the case, or maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe that is kind of a unique thing, but at least in 1929, all three had 100 RBI or more, and Jackson was one of them. Now, he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's in the Cubs Hall of Fame, of course, along with, I think, Kyler and Wilson, too. So he did live to be 87, so a good long life there. And his career batting average was 336, I believe. He played in some World Series, at least one with the Cubs. Um, and again, retired in 1934, I believe it was. Not a big home run hitter. Nothing like Babe Ruth playing during those same kind of 20s and 30s periods. But again, a solid outfielder for the Cubs and a solid card. And I actually never had held any of these cards before, the Goudeys like this. So kind of a really sturdy, firm card. Again, the corners, as you'd expect, have some wear to them. But again, no big creasing or damage. And the thing that is noted is on the back. So again, less concerned about that. But again, got to pick up. Again, it was outside of my list for the video I did a couple weeks ago in terms of what I want to do in terms of collecting this year. But learning more about the Cubs, its history, and some of the guys I didn't know about. I didn't, about Ernie Banks and Billy Williams and Hack Wilson and Mordecai Brown, people like that. But I had never heard of this guy. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna go rogue on my on my goals for right now. But it was a card I was curious about, did some research on it, and it came up on eBay, and happy to have gotten it. So again, that is, I guess, my story in terms of struggling with want list versus missing list. This was definitely missing and eventually wanted. I do have a couple others on the Goudey sets that I want to pick up. Again, hopefully not all this month. And I'm even going to adjust my goals video and say maybe I'm looking at maybe a few common Cubs cards from the T206, T205 sets of the early 1900s to kind of broaden out my horizons there too. But again, the main goals are there in terms of Ernie Banks, other football unopened packs, Bears packs, Walter Payton related items on pack maybe, or just in general wax packs too. So again, thanks for the start. Appreciate you watching. Thank you for those who subscribed, liked, and commented. Curious on your thoughts around missing list or want lists. And I will come back to you with another video probably later this week. All right, take care, guys. See ya.